Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone.
How is
Good
everyone?
evening.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
Commissioner Roach and Commissioner Lyons.
Good evening.
Looks like we have everybody here except Commissioner Cuminato.
I've seen his name up before.
You did, okay.
I just didn't see a face.
Commissioners, I'm just going to step away and call Commissioner Cuminato to make sure that he's able to get in. So excuse
Okay,
me for one
let's do
moment,
that.
please.
Thanks.
Commissioners, I believe Commissioner Cuminato is in, so I think we're ready to start.
Very good. We'll call this regular board meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners to order. Roll call of Commissioners: Cruz,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Diaz,
Here.
Farrow,
Here.
Lyons,
Here.
and Roach is here. And we're expecting Commissioner Cuminato at some point as well. Now I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the regular board meeting, which was held on Tuesday, January 18th of this year. Unless there's any questions, comments, additions, subtractions, we'll entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
Been moved by Commissioner Cruz. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Next is the acceptance of the minutes of the special board meeting, which was held on Thursday, January 27th of this year.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Aye.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the report of the Chief of Police. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, everyone.
Chief, if we can cover the usual data of your reports, and we may need to go in executive session for the discussion of the two cases that the department has been dealing with. And we understand that they're pending investigations, not only with those two items, but also a pending investigation from Internal Affairs as well. But if we can at least begin with other items, Chief, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. So one of the things that I wanted to bring you up to speed on was we had discussed the training that we were offering for the community engagement. There were 3 members of the board that had asked to be attendees to that. A dedication to community, it was called, and it was put on by Mr. Quentin Williams. The actual event took place on the 25th. I think it was very well attended, not only by members of the Bridgeport Police Department and several members of the community, as well as some of our other partners, such as the Fairfield PD, Stratford PD, et cetera. They actually did a fantastic job, talked about bridging the gaps between the departments and the community and community engagement. We are conducting a follow-up with them. They have our contact information. I know that Commissioner Cruz has requested some materials that we will be forwarding to you upon receiving them, but they did say that they would send those cards that you requested so that you can have some for yourself, and I'm sure for your school. So you're welcome. Thank you both for attending, you and Commissioner Diaz. The other thing that I wanted to tell you about is I attended a new initiative. It's called COPE, and it's an acronym for Caridad's Opioid Preventable Epidemic. It was put together by 2 mothers that lost their children due to drug overdoses, and they wanted to reach out and offer a resource to the community regarding coping, education, next steps, how to let other people know about what you're going through, et cetera. I did attend, it was on Sunday, and we took the opportunity to be able to discuss the MOU that we have signed with our Liberations program, which we have ongoing partnership for community engagement on personnel or people within the community that are homeless, substance use, et cetera. They're the ones that have the colorful vans out in the community, and they do a lot of positive work. So the grant that they received, because we MOU'd with them as a partner, is a grant for, they're gonna be hiring 2 24-hour, 7-day-a-week personnel to be able to go out to locations where parties have overdose and speak with them, offer resources, and offer resources to their families as well. They received a total of $6 million on a grant, and I believe $3 million is earmarked for Bridgeport over a 3-year time frame. So we did introduce that. That was an MOU that we signed last year when they were actually applying for the grant. We have filled a position within the Detective Bureau for a vacancy for a sergeant. There are also 5 positions requested for detectives in the Detective Bureau that are currently vacant. We have also been engaging still in our Project Wingspan, which we have spoken of. That is an initiative, is a collaboration between several different municipalities regarding stolen cars and juvenile matters and violent crime, and they're still in effect. They're going very strong, and they're helping impact and reduce the crime that has been experienced in the city of Bridgeport. And we also, there's a big initiative with community services. It's called the Cinderella Project, and community services has engaged in trying to acquire formal attire for young ladies who may not be as fortunate or not able to purchase items for a prom or to attend a prom or have a prom experience. To date, they have collected about 500 dresses, shoes, purses, etc., as a community engagement project. We are also with that program, that Liberations program. We have also started our initiative. We've done the grassroots. We've spoken about and gotten confirmed that we're going to be going into the schools, speaking to the children on fentanyl, on vaping and marijuana, which are 3 major issues that we have been experiencing, not only in Bridgeport, but nationwide. And right now we have 11 schools signed up for us to go and speak to their children, to the young people, and we have a parent group. We have also confirmed that we will be doing the same with some of our housing communities in the city of Bridgeport. They have agreed and want us to be able to go into the housing communities and do these educational pieces for our community. And we have also discussed recruitment processes. As you all know, we're approximately 100 officers short currently in the department, and expect more retirements that are coming up, but we are actively working on our next recruitment campaign. We currently have a class in session. They are in their 9th week, and they're all actually doing very well. And on a last note, we have started up our CIT training efforts to try to get more of our officers trained in CIT, and that's going to go in correlation with our social work project that we're also doing here in the city of Bridgeport. That's part of it, to make sure that we have enough officers CIT certified so that they can work along with the social workers when that project kicks off in the city. And lastly, but not least, we have submitted our budget proposals for next year and our requests. And I know that there are some questions that you'd like to discuss, and I'm willing to answer them to the board via an, I guess, public or executive session.
Any of the commissioners have any questions for the chief on the items she has just discussed? Chief, I know you had mentioned, and we're all well aware of the shortage of manpower in the department. Regarding the Detective Bureau, you said we are currently 5 detectives short of what's usual in that department. Is that correct? Or where exactly are we in the DB?
There are actually more, sir. We have 12 short at this time in the Detective Bureau. We're asking for 5 due to the manpower shortage that we have in patrol. We don't want to keep depleting patrol, as we know that they are the primary boots on the ground that go out to the cause, that do the proactive work and also responding to calls themselves. So right now we do have an active list. So I have requested that 5 officers be promoted to the rank of detective.
And how many detectives do we have currently?
I want to say it's in the 50s, but I have received notice that there are 5 retiring. Okay. On top of the 12 that we are short.
Any of the other commissioners have any questions? Okay.
Commissioner Roach,
Yes.
I just wanted to know if the chief was going to be present for the rest of the meeting, or is she tapping out for the evening, so to speak?
That would be up to the chief. There's nothing that requires her to remain for the entire meeting, and some evenings she obliges us by staying on. Other evenings she has signed off after the report.
Or I guess more a question to the chief, if the chief wants to be present.
Again, if you like, I can stay on, or it's whatever you would like.
I personally would like to see you present, but I mean, it's your discretion.
Okay.
Any
I
other
also
questions?
agree.
Any other
No.
questions for the chief?
No questions. I just agree with Commissioner Farrell. I think she should stay.
Okay. I think the board is aware of, in the case of the untimely passings of Miss Lauren Smith Fields and Ms. Brenda Lee Rawls. I had requested a letter from the chief explaining her version of the events. That letter was passed along to the board and has since been made public. If we are going to go into any detail because of the ongoing investigations and personnel issues, I'd have to entertain a motion to go in executive session.
So moved.
There's a motion from Commissioner Diaz. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. This board will go into executive session. Lieutenant, you'll let us know when that's been accomplished.
Yes.
Okay.
Who will be in executive session? Just the 7 commissioners?
Just
And
the commissioners and the chief.
very good.
I apologize. Chantel Fields is trying to get into the call and she needs the host to let her in. Please, we've been trying to chat, but nobody's responding. I apologize.
We'll make sure she gets in when we come back in public session.
Finance,
Hi, Matt. So, we're
I'm sorry. This is to the host. This is Councilwoman Maria Pereira. I'm getting a number of texts, phone calls from media, members of the public who have been in the waiting room for well over 10 minutes and are being denied access to a public meeting. I don't know what's going on here. I'm getting calls from Brian Lockhart, MSNBC, members of the public who are not being able to access the meeting or in the waiting room. That needs to be corrected. It's a violation of the Freedom of Information Act.
Progress.
San Francisco today, only its first recall in nearly 40 years.
I can't make myself big.
Put it on top of this thing here. Top of the phone. And then on the speaker right there.
Recording in
It's a Chantal left.
Really trust me.
I don't want the recording.
also linked to somebody like that. Also Chicago. One more to try to get God's out. Which means that's twice the down is messed up cycle.
Okay. Everyone, thank you for your patience. Waiting for the rest of the commissioners to get back into the regular meeting here. Okay. What I'd like to do is go out of order with the agenda. We've had folks that had requested to address the board this evening. And out of a courtesy, they've been very patient. We're almost an hour into the meeting, and we like to afford them that. We have several speakers, council members Pereira and Small, Attorney Crossland, Ms. Chantel Fields, Ms. Alexis Farrow, and Ms. Dorothy Washington. First off, to Ms. Fields and others that may be related to the folks that have passed away, please accept the board's condolences. And as we move forward, I just ask that statements, if you could, to keep them at 5 minutes or less, in order to give everybody the opportunity to address the board. So with that having been said, the first speaker will be Council Member Maria Pereira. Ms. Pereira, you have the floor.
Good evening, Chairman Roach and Commissioners. I was born and raised in Bridgeport and have never given up on Bridgeport. However, I feel like Bridgeport is on the verge of the abyss. I have never seen the level of negative press regarding the Bridgeport Police Department as I have seen in the last 6 years under this mayor. The vast majority of this community has lost faith in the Bridgeport Police Department as a whole, and it is often described as rudderless, chaotic, turbulent, and shambles, corrupt, and much more. I grew up on the Lower East Side with a number of former and current Bridgeport police officers who I know to be decent, honest, principled officers who work very hard to protect and serve the residents of Bridgeport with compassion and humanity. I have called on police officers where I was completely impressed with their absolute professionalism and responsiveness, and I have dealt with police officers who have demonstrated the complete opposite. I hope we can all agree that there are certain professions where not even one bad apple can be tolerated. I'm sure that if any of us needed a triple bypass, none of us would want the bad apple heart surgeon performing our surgery. Policing is absolutely one of those professions where not a single bad apple can be accepted. The person who's ultimately accountable to the residents of Bridgeport and its governance is Mayor Ganim. And the downward trajectory the Bridgeport PD has experienced over the last 6 years must be laid at his feet. I have just entered my 3rd year on the council and am appalled at the millions of municipal taxpayer dollars we have spent to cover litigation costs related to the Bridgeport PD. And we know there is much more litigation coming down the pike, including litigation related to the deaths of Lauren Smith Fields and Brenda Lee Rawls. At a time when both the Lauren Smith Fields and Brenda Lee Rawls families were experiencing unimaginable grief, members of the Bridgeport PD treated these families with complete lack of humanity, compassion, and decency by failing to even notify them of their loved ones' deaths and treating the families as if they were a nuisance and bothersome because they dared to inquire about the suspicious and untimely deaths of Lauren and Brenda. Brenda Smithfield's family spokesperson, Alexis Farrell, first contacted me on December 15th, 2021. When she shared the details with me about Lauren's death and how the families were treated, I was in utter disbelief. I explained to Ms. Farrell that it was likely that Acting Chief Garcia and Captain Gillerin were completely unaware of how Lauren's death was being handled, and they were owed the professional courtesy of being informed of the issues. I strongly urged her to send an email to both Garcia and Gillerin detailing everything she had told me and provided her with both of their Bridgeport.gov email addresses. Ms. Farrell did send a detailed email to both Garcia and Gillerin the next afternoon on December 16, 2021, and I received it as well. I also sent that email to News 12's Frank Recchia, urging him to meet with the family to share their experience, as well at the request of family spokesperson Alexis Farrell. I followed up with Alexis Farrell on Monday, December 20th, and asked what Garcia's and Gillerin's response to her email was. I was shocked when she shared that neither had responded. That email was provided to all of you in the press on Friday. Ms. Farrell further stated that she was confident they received her email because just 20 minutes after she sent it, she received a call from a detective out of the blue. At this point, I followed up with Frank Recchia and stressed the importance of meeting with the family ASAP to interview them. That story first aired on December 22nd, 2021. Acting Chief Rebecca's 4-page letter states that Detective Cronin was referred to Internal Affairs on December 29th, 2021, after she was briefed at a meeting that day. The detailed email that Alexis Farrell sent to both Garcia and Gillerin was sent on December 16th. Why did it take 15 days for Garcia to hold this meeting, remove Detective Cronin from Lauren Smithfield's investigation, and refer the detective to Internal Affairs? Why is Captain Gillerin nowhere in Garcia's 4-page letter when he is the captain of the Detective Bureau, hand-selected by Garcia? Why was Detective Llanos allowed to remain on the Brenda Lee Rawls case until at least January 3rd, 2022, when local and national media had widely reported the death of Brenda Lee Rawls and how the family was treated poorly and how the investigation was also handled improperly by at least January 23rd, when they spoke at the Justice for Lauren March? Why was Acting Chief Garcia's nephew appointed as the new detective investigating Lauren Smithfield's death? Do you think this is wise and an appropriate decision? It was not until the Justice for Lauren March held on Sunday, January 23rd, that many of us learned of Brenda Lee Rawls' death, which occurred on the exact same day, December 12, 2021. When Brenda's sister, Dorothy Washington, spoke at the rally, you could hear the audible gasps and moans of the 300 attendees at that rally. The next day, I contacted Frank Recchia from News 12 because I was surprised that I had missed this story on Brenda Lee Rawls' death. I asked him to send me a link to the story, which he did. When I watched the news story that Brenda Lee Rawls was reported dead on Pearl Harbor Street, my heart started racing as I realized both deaths occurred in the 138th district in the JFK precinct on the exact same day within 3 to 4 hours of each other. The reason so many of us missed Brenda Lee Rawls' story is that it first aired at 6 p.m. on Christmas Day, which is probably one of the least watched news days annually. Brenda Lee Rawls' 3 sisters and her niece drafted 4 separate letters dated January 15, 2022, which were addressed to Mayor Ganim and Acting Chief Rebecca Garcia. Dorothy Washington located a general email for the Bridgeport PD and the mayor on the city's directory and emailed all 4 letters as attachments, which I emailed to all of you and the media on Friday. To this day, neither Mayor Ganim nor Acting Chief Garcia have responded to those letters, although they were emailed before the Lauren for Justice March rally, where the attendees and the media first really became fully aware of Brenda's death. I'm wrapping up. We don't understand how the responding detectives did not treat the death of 23-year-old healthy woman and a 53-year-old woman whose family is adamant she had no serious underlying health issues as suspicious especially when both were on dates with men who had no long-term ties to the deceased. The Lawrence Smithfield story aired on News 12 on December 22nd, 2021. Yet Mayor Ganem and Acting Chief Rebecca Garcia did not issue a public statement until Monday, January 24th, 2022, 33 days after the story first aired, and the day after 300 predominantly Black and brown residents marched on Mayor Ganem's office. Although Brenda Lee Rawls' story aired just 3 days later on December 25th, it was not really picked up by the local and national media until the day of the Justice for Lauren rally. The families, and Michelle and I are standing here with the families because this is what the families are calling for. They want the mayor to immediately remove Rebecca Garcia as acting chief of police. We are not calling for her termination. We recognize she's officially the assistant chief of police for now, as litigation winds its way through the appellate courts. Whether you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or a McDonald's store manager, your successes are a reflection on your leadership, just as your failures are a reflection on your leadership. And leadership means there must be accountability when there are egregious and repeated failures, which also demonstrate a culture within the Bridgeport PD where this is acceptable conduct. She has served as acting chief for 16 months, not 6 months. In addition, she made the decision to replace Captain Fitzgerald as captain of the Detective Bureau and replace him with Captain Gillerin, which is absolutely her right to do so. Yet he is not referenced in her 4-page letter once. Decisions have consequences. In addition, we are calling on you as the police commission to stand with both the Lawrence Smithfield and Brenda Lee Rawls family and the Bridgeport community at large, who have overwhelmingly coalesced around these families by issuing a formal letter to the mayor requesting he immediately remove Rebecca Garcia as acting chief of police. We are requesting you issue that letter publicly. And finally, in addition, we are requesting the mayor and the police commission submit a formal letter to the U.S. Department of Justice requesting they intercede in the investigation of Lawrence Smithfield's and Brenda Lee Rawls' deaths, as neither family nor the Bridgeport community at large has any faith in the Bridgeport PD thoroughly investigating these suspicious deaths, where little to nothing was done to collect evidence and thoroughly question both men. As far as Mayor Ganem, he's going to be held accountable on the ballot in 2023. And Mr. Roach, I'm going to just give my phone to Michelle Small if you're going to call her as next speaker, okay?
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Pereira.
Good evening, Chairman Roach and Commissioner. I want to speak to you as a Black woman, mother, grandmother, and sister. I am an elected city councilwoman, and each of you are police commissioners. But before all else, we are human beings. How can any human being show such lack of empathy, compassion, and basic decency to the grieving parents, sister, brother, and family of both Lawrence Smithfield and Brenda Lee Rawls? I am sure most of you, if not all of you, have children, siblings, or grandchildren. Therefore, I am asking you to try to place yourself in the shoes of Lawrence and Brenda's family members. How would you feel if it was your child, sister, or brother that suddenly died and the Bridgeport Police Department treated you and your family the way these families have been treated? How can anyone that takes an oath to protect and serve not understand the need to locate the families and personally knock on their doors to tell them about the tragic death of their daughter or sister? They were young Black women, yes, both 23 and 53, and young, with a lot of life left to live, whom families loved them. These families had to conduct their own investigation to locate their deceased family members. When the police had a professional duty and moral responsibility to seek them out to inform them of Lawrence and Brenda's death, then the families were treated disrespectfully by the detectives that were simply by the detectives when they were simply calling to find out about what exactly was being done to investigate the deaths. They were treated as if they were a bother and were hung up on, not even called back at times. Lauren and Brenda were Maria and my constituents, but most importantly, they were human beings who deserve respect in both life and death, not to be discarded as they were disposable. As a Black woman, I am going to say what needs to be said, even if it upsets some people. You don't have to go to Westport or Greenwich. We can say right here in Black Rock, do you believe that if a beautiful 23-year-old white woman died in Black Rock after spending the night with a Black guy she met on Bumble just 72 hours early, and that Black guy reported her death just hours after they first met face to face, that the detective would have described her date as a good guy and just let him go on his merry way? Do you think that the detectives would have hung up on the white father of the 23-year-old white woman and told him to stop calling when he was calling to find out what happened to his only daughter? Because I don't. Maria and I are standing with both families because we have the responsibility to stand up for both Lauren and Brenda, who are our constituents. And we stand with their family who are seeking real justice. When you are silent, you are part of the problem. Now, the family is calling on the mayor to remove Rebecca Garcia as acting chief of police and return her to assistant chief. We are asking the police commission to draft a letter on your letterhead to the mayor urging him to do so and to release the letter publicly. Both families have zero faith in the Bridgeport Police Department and do not want them to handle the investigation. We are also calling on the mayor and police commission to submit a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice urging them to investigate both suspicious deaths and the handling of Lauren and Brenda's death by the Bridgeport Police Department. Will you remain silent, or are you going to stand up for Lauren Smithfield and Brenda Lee Ross, their families, and the overwhelmingly members of the Bridgeport community that have rallied around these families? The ball is in your court. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Small. Our next speaker is Attorney Darnell Crossland.
Yes, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. I need to turn my video on, I guess. Is that okay?
Loud and clear.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, just a little housekeeping. I think in the beginning, you stated that to the Ms. Fields and others related to those who have passed away, you offer your condolences. And I just want to remind you that I think you were saying that you were giving your condolences to the family of Lauren Smith Fields and to Brenda Lee Rawls. So it's very important that we know what we're talking about because it seemed a bit shaky from the outset of this meeting in terms of the way you're addressing these families. I know in the beginning, you said you referred to them as matters. And then even when you gave condolences, you said, and I wrote it down, to Ms. Fields and others related to those that have passed away. So let's be clear. The whole world knows this is Lauren Smith Fields and Brenda Lee Rawls, and Bridgeport should know that as well. It's been so long. It took us so long just to get Bridgeport to notice us. And now at this police commissioners meeting, we shouldn't fumble over the names or the families of who we're talking to. So I'd appreciate if you Just make that a note to that. Transparency is important, yet the acting chief this evening stated that she will be able to address the public in private or in public. She never stated that there was anything sensitive about this police investigation that will require an executive session. Yet, sir, you are called for a vote for an executive session, and that happened tonight for a reason I don't find to be justifiable. In fact, we already read her letter. The letter has already been published to the entire world, and so there's really no need for executive session. But we waited patiently. We've been waiting patiently since this case started, and our patience are wearing thin. With that, let's talk about the acting chief's letter. The letter never addressed what's important, which is what went wrong with this investigation or lack thereof. In fact, the letter never addressed with any particularity what are the next steps to be taken to correct what happened in this investigation or lack thereof. It never addressed why myself, along with Chantel Fields, who's Lawrence Smith Fields' mom, and her family, when we went to the police department to meet with the police officers there and to meet with the acting chief, why we were placed inside of a tiny interrogation room that myself and other clients have been in murder cases. We were treated with no respect, no conference room. The acting chief never came out to address us, to welcome us at all. I understand Detective Chris Lemaine might have been involved, and we were told that he's using the conference room, maybe with the acting chief and some other business, but they could have popped out and said hello or something, but that didn't happen. What happened instead was we were put in this tiny room with Sergeant Morales, God bless his heart, who seemed to be very afraid and very shook as the replacing detective Garcia, who replaced Cronin, was yelling and screaming and threatened to walk out of the room. He was so, and excuse my being blunt, but so ignorant that he was trying to explain that there was no investigation here because no crime took place, because in his words, which he couldn't find, and Sergeant Morales had to help him out, he was stumbling over trying to come up with the word or the phrase, there was no blunt force trauma. And he couldn't even do that. And to which I responded, sir, you must admit that blunt force trauma is not the only way to kill someone. And then he went on to say, well, we're still conducting, and I think he was trying to say plural, we're still conducting tests. He said, we're still conducting test assists. So we know that that's ignorant, and he couldn't even say the plural word test. And if you think I'm here to waste my time and make this up, you're mistaken. That's exactly what happened. And so we're disappointed with that. He yelled and screamed, and he finally walked out of the room. And so while Ms. Chantel Fields is sitting there mourning her daughter and looking for justice, you have somebody screaming, yelling, and walking out the room and being very ignorant. And that's something the commission should know about. You know, what we've learned from the experts that's looked at this case is that these cases should be treated as a homicide and then dial backwards. That way evidence could be preserved and things could be accounted for. In this particular case, it was treated very wrong. I mean, the best way you can put it. There was nothing collected. There was no CSI. The whole world watches television. There was no crime scene investigation. In fact, on December 29th, the family was there collecting items to shut down that apartment because Lauren was renting. And Detective Garcia pops in and says, hey, you guys have contaminated the scene, and now we're gonna need DNA from the whole family. Well, you don't need DNA from knowns. The family is known to be there. Their DNA will be there. What you need DNA is from the unknown in that condom, the condom with semen in it, that on the 29th, the family had to say, here, take this stuff, take this condom with semen in it, take this lube, take this pill, take this bloody sheet. And the detective said, anything else we need? What the heck is that about? You ask the family, is there anything else we need? Professionals know what they need. They know, they assess the scene and they know what they need. So this is a police commission that I'm talking to tonight. And I hope you guys are shaking your head and scratching your head and saying, what the hell's going on with my police force? Because if you're not, the whole world's on this call right now. And it's embarrassing. So it's either incompetence or racial insensitivity or straight out racism. It can't be anything in between. And so this is embarrassing. So with that, you know, we also want to know why with Brenda Lee Rawls, I invited the family to the march. And as Maria Pereira stated, that's when the world found out about her. Why wasn't her home treated as a crime scene, as the experts are saying? Now, you guys been watching this case, Court TV has a panel of experts, free. And they looked at the case and they assessed it. You must treat all these cases like a homicide and dial it down. You don't go the other way around. So Ms. Garcia's letter, instead of sounding like a letter that addressed what went wrong, it sounded like a child writing to the parent, the commission, saying, it wasn't my fault, it was the mayor's fault. I didn't know that he was gonna suspend these people. I already was gonna suspend them. I was on vacation. It wasn't my fault. I did what I'm supposed to do. But I don't care about the squabbling between siblings. What we care about is why isn't the acting chief with her professional prowess saying this was wrong? And this should have been treated like a homicide and dialed down, and using some other expertise to explain to us what went wrong. The letter was to me was nonsense. And while it might be internal, administrative, like the little meeting you had tonight, it doesn't help us understand what we're dealing with in the city of Bridgeport and the state of Connecticut. And we're embarrassed by this, and we're upset by this. And so just lastly, I would say to you, I don't want to give a speech to you tonight because I don't really care about speeches, but we are going to be following the proper legal actions to make sure that this doesn't happen. Well, we do know that when the DOJ went into Missouri after Mike Brown was shot and killed, we found that the entire city was being balanced on the backs of Black people. And it was a lot more corruption than just a cop shooting an individual in the street. So if we need the DOJ to come in here to figure out what's happening in Bridgeport, we're going to do that. And I think the commission should be on our side. And I want any one of you commissioners to tell me what I said tonight is wrong, that this shouldn't have been treated differently. And if you feel that way, please tell me so I can know what we're dealing with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Attorney Crossland. The next speaker is Chantel Fields.
Hello. I am the mother of Lauren Smith Fields. My daughter passed away on the 12th. I am so upset how we was treated by the Bridgeport Police Department. It was disgusting, deplorable. Had us waiting there for over 4 hours or more for him to come out to tell us where our daughter's at and what took place, hanging up on us, telling her father, don't call him anymore. Evidence that we found inside Lauren's apartment still yet have not been submitted yet. I want to know what's going on with that. The thing about it, Bridgeport is not doing their job. Bridgeport Police Department, nothing at all. They do not care. They did not care about my daughter. They did not care to even knock on my door to let me know that my daughter passed away. I'm only 10 minutes away from my daughter's apartment. No call. You're supposed to contact a family member within 24 hours, either by phone or a knock on the door. I got neither. After Alexis Farah wrote out that email, no one even say, hey, I'm sorry to hear about your daughter. No police officer. Up until the couple of days later after we was taking the last items out of Lauren's apartment. And he was awful. I want to know what are y'all gonna do to change the situation? How are you gonna move forward handling how you handle Black women, Black people, people of color? I want y'all to know the whole world's watching how the Bridgeport Police Department is handling this case. And that right there is a fact. My daughter passed away and this white Caucasian man was able just to walk away. A condom full of semen. Nothing has been submitted yet. I'm waiting for y'all to tell me that it's lost or it never made it there, which it hasn't yet. Because Attorney Darnell calls every single day and has not been submitted yet. Y'all need to tell me what's going on. Can somebody explain something to me? This is disgusting. It's deplorable. You tried to make my daughter seem like she was rubbish, like she didn't have a family, but she does. A father, a brother, her whole family loves her. She had a lot of life in her. She was not rubbish. She was found dead in her flat. Her apartment. And there's nothing no one has to say to me, not even I'm sorry for your daughter's. I'm not even a sorry to say, hey, I'm sorry for your daughter's loss. Nobody reached out to me. No one even cared. Picking back off the speaker before, if Lauren was a Caucasian, white, blonde-haired girl, y'all would have scoured the earth to find out what happened to her. But she is a regular Black woman. So then they consider her as garbage. It doesn't matter. And also, you just let the guy just walk away because he's a very good guy. Why? Because he was a Caucasian? He was a very good guy? If the guy died in Lauren's apartment and he was a Black man, he would still be in jail right now. He would still be in jail right now. Family trying to get a bond and everything. But because he's a very good white guy, he got to go home to his family while my daughter lay there dead, lifeless. If the guy was found dead in her apartment, Lauren would be in jail right now. Y'all be running all types of ads, bonds, and everything about my daughter. But because this guy's a very good guy, he got to go home. And my daughter, she got to lay on the cold table. That took us 2 days or 3 days just to find her from the very good police department. I want you to know, like I said before, the whole world is watching you. You need to do what y'all need to do. Get it together because the eyes are on Bridgeport Police Department. You guys are deplorable. I find you disgusting, and I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. The next speaker is Alexis Farrow.
Hello, how are you?
Evening.
So firstly, I just want to say thank you for giving me the time to speak. Thank you for putting me on the agenda to speak this evening. So I'll jump right into my purpose of being on tonight's agenda by honestly and openly just saying that the city of Bridgeport, along with the Bridgeport Police Department, needs to do better. I'll say it again. The city of Bridgeport, along with the Bridgeport Police Department, needs to do better. Instead of working collaboratively as a team with one another to make Connecticut's biggest, and what should be based on the tax dollars, the amount of tax dollars that you receive, the most beautiful city in the state, you're ruining it. And not only are you ruining it, you're having it leave a taste in not only the community's mouth, but the nation's mouth of nothing more than bitterness, okay? Not just Connecticut, the nation is looking at Bridgeport, and the taste that they're getting from Bridgeport is nothing but bitterness. Unlike your employee and your detective, Kevin Cronin, who was originally placed on Lauren's case, I won't base any of my comments tonight on my personal belief or opinion. I'll base them all off of facts, okay? On December 14th, I met with my family. I learned of Lauren's demise. I was absolutely disgusted about how they were treated and how they were talked to. After many just unreturned phone calls, after many times of being hung up on, being yelled at by detectives, I did what I was supposed to do as a taxpayer in the state, and I reached out to our elected city officials for help. I researched the district, and I found it was represented by Maria Pereira. I reached out to her immediately, and she had no idea that a suspicious death had even taken place in her district. So that goes to show the communication between the city, the officials, and the police. There is none, okay? And that's a fact. She then directed me to who we believe to be the proper personnel, who was Acting Chief Garcia, Sergeant Gillerin, and Mayor Ganem. She explained to me that she did not believe, in all honesty, that Chief Garcia or Sergeant Gillerin even knew of the events that had taken place, and that I should reach out to them, as they would probably be able to help our family resolve the issue, and they might actually be eager to. So I did that. I reached out. I sat on a computer and I drafted one of the most eloquent and heartfelt 5-paragraph letters that I've ever written in my life, and that includes in my pre-law college career. Why? I didn't write it just because I was dramatic and grieving the loss of a girl that I've known since she was a child, okay? I was writing it because I'm a human. And not only am I a human, I have a heart. And I felt any human with a heart would be just as disgusted and upset to hear that anybody was talked to and treated the way my family was treated, okay? So I gave, and even after speaking to Maria Pereira and reaching out, I gave the Bridgeport Police Department the benefit of the doubt, okay? I gave them the benefit of the doubt, and especially more so Chief Garcia as a leader, because I thought maybe there were just a few bad apples under an unrooted tree, okay? But I soon realized that it was more than just a few bad apples. We're not talking 2 or 3 apples here. We're talking the whole bag is sour. Okay, I realized that on December 22nd, 7 days after I sent the email, but coincidentally 4 hours after Frank Recchia ran his preview of the news story covering the case, and 24 hours before we would view Lauren's body lying in front of the church for the last time, I finally received a call where I had to actually go and ask for a meeting. It wasn't offered to me. I just want to say I had to request a meeting to try to get to the bottom of this issue and try to work together collaboratively to find out what happened to Lauren and also hold this detective accountable. So I just want to throw that out there. The meeting was not offered to me. I had to request it, okay? Even after I requested the meeting, I realized it even more when we were cleaning Lauren's home out after two weeks after her death, and Detective Garcia, who was the nephew of Chief Garcia, showed up to collect evidence that still has not made it to the Connecticut State Lab as of 2 weeks ago. Okay, so I also realized that when we scheduled a meeting with Sergeant Morales, we were told Chief Garcia would be there, and she never showed up. She didn't even bother to poke her head in for 30 seconds to extend her condolences when she was in the same building and under the same roof. Now, it's a possibility she did not know about the meeting, but my guess is maybe she didn't want to sit in an interrogation room like a criminal, like we had to, and have a meeting there. I'm sure she doesn't like meeting there. I'm sure she likes meeting in a conference room like a normal person. Maybe if she were in the meeting with us and in the room, she would have been able to calm her nephew down and stop him from yelling at my family and behaving like an absolute tyrant. So I'm not going to take a lot more of your time, but I am going to sum up a couple of facts. Okay, so one fact is Lauren met a Caucasian man on Bumble who has known and publicly known ties to the Bridgeport Police Department. Our family was told he would not be investigated because he was a nice guy, based on Detective Cronin knowing him for an hour, supposedly. Another fact, last year, Chief Garcia transferred a Black police captain, Lonnie Blackwell, to a department and stripped him of many of his responsibilities, transferred him to a department that he didn't want to be in after he filed an internal complaint against her. Another fact is Chief Garcia was appointed this position by a police chief who just got out of prison for multiple felonies. which was also in violation of the civil service rules. Another fact. The last fact is she still is the chief and she still has her job, which is the most appalling fact that I feel like I've touched tonight. So I will end this by saying, as of today, February 15th, we have not heard from Chief Garcia via email, phone, or in person. Tonight was my first time ever even hearing her voice. I want to end my time with a quote that I said in my email. I said, "My family deserves a heartfelt apology and a thorough investigation into the untimely death of Lauren Smith Fields. If an investigation determines her untimely death was not suspicious or was not led to by neglect of any kind, we will heal from this tragedy and we will move forward with stride and work together as a family. But if for any reason this continues to drag on and any of Mr. LaFountain's statements are proven to be false, uncorroborated, and complete lies through an independent investigation, we will not rest until everyone is held accountable. And that includes law enforcement as well. Thank you for your time."
Thank you, Ms. Farrell. Our final speaker is Dorothy Washington.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Chairman Roach and Commissioners for allowing me to speak. My name is Dorothy Washington, and I'm the sister of Brenda Lee Rawls. I would have never thought in my wildest dreams that I'll be sitting here speaking about this subject. Me and my family, when we came from Alabama, we were raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Brenda was born and raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and we loved it. We loved Bridgeport. Brenda was a voter. She was a taxpayer until she died. I want to know what happened to my sister. I want to know why wasn't the scene of her apartment and that male acquaintance swept for evidence, taped off so no one can go in, and scoured for evidence. I want to know, was that male acquaintance questioned? Was that male acquaintance taken down to the precinct and questioned? I want to know why my family, none of us were ever spoken to, questioned. I want to know why my family never was afforded a family meeting as we asked for. I want to know why my sister was treated like a Jane Doe as they found her, just like they found her on the side of the street with no evidence, with no identity, no ID or anything. Took her to the morgue, never notified the family, and just completed an autopsy on her. Why did the police department treat us like trash? Why did the police department, when we went down there, me and my sister on the December 17th, we went down there to find out what was going on. The officer at the window said they can't give us any information. He said there was a detective in charge of her case. He gave me the detective number and name. He gave me the wrong detective number. So that wrong detective called me and gave me the right detective number. The detective that was in charge of my sister's case was Angel Lanos. I called Detective Lanos about 4 to 5, maybe even 6 times, every time I left a message. To this day, he has never responded, never responded. I was asked if we had an incident report. We don't have one documentation from the police department. We went down there again, me and my sister, and asked, can we have the report or anything? He said, we can't, because it's an investigation going on, and mainly because there was a death. We want questions. My family want questions. We want to know, was there an investigation started? Even though I already know that answer. The reason I know there was never an investigation started into the death of my sister is because when we went searching for her, I was at work that night. But my sister and my niece's boyfriend went searching for her. Thank God Brenda told us where she was gonna be, where she was going to visit that guy for a little bit. So they went down there and asked the guy, is she there? He laughed and said, no, Police Officer Jones in the coroner picked her up. She died. He's still walking around like nothing ever happened. Still working like nothing ever happened. And you know what he did that night? This is how I know there was never an investigation started into the death of my sister. He proceeded to hand my sister, my deceased baby sister, clothes in a bag with her shoes, her jeans, and her shirt she had on that day. That's how I know an investigation was never started into a death. And how I also know is that night when my family was searching for my sister, the hospital knew nothing about it. Funeral homes knew nothing about it. But what got me is that Bridgeport Police Department in Connecticut had no idea about the death. Who does that? What police department does that? And I know the reason why the police officers perform like that in Bridgeport, because they can. And whenever having experience in leadership, whenever people does that, whenever employees do that, it starts at the top. It starts at the top. There's no oversight. Nobody's supervising them. Nobody's watching their performance, what they're doing. And how I know that? And that's why they believe they can do what they want to do. I want to know, do the police department, Bridgeport, Connecticut Police Department, plan on going back to my sister's apartment and going back to that gentleman's apartment and doing a thorough investigation of that properties, of both of the properties? Because I know that you can find evidence 2 months down the line. Is that gonna happen? My family wants to know, is that gonna happen? But I do wanna say one thing. I have no faith in the Bridgeport Police Department. So I totally agree. I demand, as a family member, I demand that the Mayor Ganem and the commissioner write a letter having the DOJ take over. I demand that Rebecca Garcia is asked to step down from acting chief of police. And to this day, we still don't know anything about my sister's autopsy. So I want to know what's going on with that. My family has no more information than the first day when we found out where Brenda was. That's crazy. And nobody in the police department wants to tell us anything. Don't even want to sit down with us to talk to us. I want this over so my family can grieve. Because when you're trying to find justice for a loved one, you can't properly grieve because you're fighting justice. You're fighting for your loved one's justice. A grieving process has steps. And I know I'm grieving, but I'm not properly grieving. I want closure. I want a thorough investigation. I want it done right. And I do not believe Bridgeport, Connecticut Police Department can do that. I don't think they're competent. I do not think they're competent. And other thing I want to say, this is how I know it starts from the top. Where in the hell is Governor Lamont? This is his city. This is his state. He was all high and happy and celebrating and congratulating that athlete that won 2 gold medals and came back home to Connecticut. So you mean to tell me he don't know about these 2 families, these 2 Black women? That's sad. I'm moving out of Connecticut. And I love Connecticut because I love a 4 seasons state. But I can't stay here anymore. I can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Washington, and I'd like to thank all the speakers this evening for their time and their patience, of course. Moving back to our agenda, I would ask the commissioners to note the correspondence under 6A and acknowledge receipt of that. And the next item is under 3B would be the union report, which the union president and myself spoke earlier. That will be waived this evening. Following item is internal affairs in public session. We will have the introduction of Lieutenant Adam Rosen, who is the new officer in charge of the Office of Internal Affairs. And I'd ask Lieutenant Rosen to introduce himself, give a little background, maybe a little vision without getting into any of the particulars. And if we have any appropriate questions from the commissioner, we'll fill them at that time. Good evening, Lieutenant.
Thank you, sir. First and foremost, I want to thank you, Chairman Roach, Commissioner Farrow, Cruz, Lyons, Diaz, Cuminato, Williams, having me here on this platform. As you stated, I just want to give a brief introduction and then go through some statistical data. I know we're in a public forum here, but just to provide some numbers thus far this year. For those of you who don't know, my name is Lieutenant Adam Rosen, Officer in Charge of Internal Affairs. I assumed this role on January 28th, 2022. I did provide a correspondence to Lieutenant O'Donnell to provide to the board, gave a background, a cover letter, a resume, just to kind of give you a background of some skills and abilities that I bring to the table in internal affairs. As far as the IA report, which was included as well, since thus far this year, we've received 19 citizens complaints, 3 internal investigations, 6 inquiries, and we also were able to close out 10 cases thus far in the past 2 weeks. I can assure you, since assuming this role, the sergeants and the investigators working diligently, I've been receiving nothing but cooperation for them, and they're committed, of course, to completing and conducting thorough and impartial investigations. I look forward to working with all the board members and building a professional working relationship. As always, I can assure you that I will remain loyal to not only the city of Bridgeport, but the community, and all the city, all the members. And just finally, I do understand the Internal Affairs Division. It's held to the highest of standards. It's the pinnacle regarding integrity, honor, And I'm certainly committed to that, as I've always been since the beginning of my career. Thank you, Commissioner Roach and all the commissioners for having me.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Unless there's any questions or comments from the commissioners, we would move to the clerk's report on the status of pending matters. Lieutenant O'Donnell? You're still muted.
Good evening, Commissioner. Sorry about that. I have 3 items. The first is we have a scheduled Barrows hearings for March 22nd and March 24th for OIA case 18I-130 and 18I-151. These are rescheduled from earlier in the year from December and January. I was notified, I do have a new internal affairs case. I'm just making my notification of 19I-046, which will be put on our agenda to hear that case very shortly after the March hearing. And lastly, I was notified today by Councilmember Mary McBride Lee and Councilmember Matt McCarthy that they will be our new liaisons to the Board of Police Commissioners. I'm happy that they joined us this evening. And if Reverend Lee and Councilmember McCarthy, if you're here and would like to say hello, please join us.
Thank you. This is Councilwoman Lee, and I would just like to say that good evening to the commissioners that are here tonight, and I also would like to say that my condolence goes out to the family of Lorraine and Smithfield and Brenda Lee Rawls. And I want you to know that I'm sorry for your loss. And I you know, after hearing what I've heard tonight, what I've learned tonight, I'm not happy, and neither are my colleagues. So on that note, I would just like to say that we are going to work effectively, and we are going to work diligently with the family, and also with Donnell, Attorney Donnell Crossland, who I admire greatly. And I'm looking forward to doing that, because I do believe in transparency, and I do believe that the family do need to know what's happening, what happened to their family. I am available, and I'm determined to make sure that justice is served. And I think that any one of us that's in this position would feel the same way. We want to have transparency, and we want to know the information that's out there, because if it was me, I would be looking for the same thing. So make no mistake about it. You know, we are going to be working with the attorney. And I would just like to say, on a personal note, if I already didn't have the best attorney in the world, Donnell would be it. But I have the best. So I know that you have great representation, and I'm sure that he's going to make sure, along with the community, not just him and not just the family, but I'm looking forward to the whole community to get involved, to make sure, you know, that everything work out the way that it's supposed to work out. Thank you for having me for your liaison person. And tomorrow I'll lay my liaison hat down and become a community activist. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Lee.
Thank you, Council.
We have Councilman Matt McCarthy is also newly appointed liaison to the board, and we look forward to working with both Reverend Lee and Matt McCarthy. Any reports, Lieutenant?
No, that's it. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for me?
Okay, moving on. We've already noted the item under 6A. Under 7A, we have a letter of appreciation via email from Council Member Pereira, extending sincere appreciation to the board for the installation of a handicap parking sign on Minnesota Avenue. Nothing tonight under widows' pensions. Under traffic requests, under 9A, the city traffic engineer recommends approval of those 4 items.
And Commissioner, the first 3 would need a vote. Item 4 is just a notification that
I'm just-
request has been forwarded to the
The state.
state
Right.
administrator.
Okay. Unless there's any questions, I would entertain a motion to combine the 3 items under 9A and approve those items.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Diaz. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Williams. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, those items have been approved. The items under 9B, which the city traffic engineer recommends us not to approve. The installation of a handicap parking sign on 288 Carroll Avenue. Just a second. This is a corner property, 288 Carroll. The house is on the corner. The applicant has told us that there is a driveway on the property. It's a single family home and she's the occupant, but she is looking for a handicap parking sign in front of the house. It appears that she has the driveway is in the rear of the house and it's at the far back of the property. And there's certainly, she claims that it's a bit of a walk and she has mobility issues. The driveway is a bit of a distance from the back entrance of the house, but she's looking for a handicap sign on the front entrance. Now that, as I said, the recommendation is to deny. That's all the information I've been able to gather on this. Any of the commissioners have any comments or questions?
No comments or questions.
Anybody else?
No comment. Good question.
No comment, no question.
Does anybody care to make a motion? Are we to agree with the recommendation of the city traffic engineer? Because parking is provided in the form of a driveway.
I'll make the motion.
There's a motion by Commissioner Diaz to approve the request, which is to deny the application for 288 Carroll Avenue. Is there a second?
Okay.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Cuminato. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
I oppose.
Commissioner Cruz in opposition. I believe that vote is 5-1, unless I'm mistaken. Okay, the next item is handicap Parking sign request, that was recommendation from the city traffic engineer is not to approve. It's on 199 Denver Avenue. Same situation. There's a driveway on the property, single family home. And so the driveway is difficult according to the applicant. And there's not very much space to move, and she claims it's also a shared driveway. Now, looking it up earlier today on MapQuest, it certainly appeared that there is that the driveway is shared with the house next door. And she's claiming that at certain times she doesn't have access to this driveway, and she's been having to park, according to her, blocks away. I'm sorry, the applicant is male. It's Roy Brenton. And he's in his early 70s. Any comments or questions?
The real question is, why is it being denied to a 70-year-old man?
Well, he's being denied because it's a single-family house that he occupies, assuming he's the owner. If not, even so, there's a driveway on the property.
Okay, and generally we get something from the owner indicating that he cannot park in the driveway. Do we have that?
Well, right, and that's usually when it's a multifamily, and the tenant, even though there's off-street parking, the tenant is not given access to it. This is a different. These are different situations, though.
I don't quite understand. How different is it?
Well,
we don't know. You just said you don't know if he's the owner, right?
He's the occupant, and assuming he's the owner, he doesn't say that he's the owner, but it's a single-family home, and it's his driveway.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you have any questions for this gentleman, there's a phone number. I can suggest that you can table the item.
Yeah, I'd like to table it. No.
Okay.
Why can't he park in the driveway? If
And
That's
feel
the
free
question.
to either reach out, or we can have the lieutenant give the gentleman a call.
no, I can call him.
Okay, is that a motion to table? Commissioner Cruz?
Yes.
There's been a
I'm
motion
sorry.
to table by Commissioner Cruz. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Farrell. All those in favor?
No, I have a question.
Are there any opposed?
Somebody has a question on the table.
I'm sorry? One of the commissioners have a question?
No, I'm just a person.
Oh,
Hi.
I'm sorry.
Can I ask a question?
usually we'd be more than happy to, but the meeting is, it's not open to the public as far as speaking unless you have signed up earlier on.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, and I apologize for that, but
It's all good. It's my first meeting. I don't know how it works.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you. Motion to table has been made. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. That item for 199 Denver Avenue has been tabled.
And Commissioners, if I may,
Yes.
certainly to the young lady that was just addressing the commission. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. She could give me a call tomorrow at 203-581-5121, and I can go over the Board of Police Commissioner process and submitting a request. Yep, 203-581-5121, and I'm Lieutenant O'Donnell.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
That was 5121.
Yes, it was, ma'am. Yes.
Okay, the next item is a installation of intersection mooring signs along southbound Madison Avenue and Macon Drive at Veterans Memorial Park Fields driveway.
Oh, Commissioner Roach, did you just skip one? Did you just skip 3?
No, no, we're on 3. Excuse me a second, I'm sorry.
You just voted 4.
No, we're on item 9B3.
Correct, but you just said Veterans Memorial Park Fields driveway is 4.
Did I say it was 4? I'm sorry. We're on.
You
we're
didn't
on
say it
item
was
3.
4, or you read it as 3.
It is 3.
3
Installation
is Capitol Avenue to Wade Street.
9A. I apologize. I went back up under 9A. 9B3, you're right. Installation of multi-way stop control for Wood Avenue segment of Capitol Avenue to Wade Street. The recommendation here is to deny. Everybody had a chance to read the letter from the city traffic engineer?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Unless there's any issues, I'd entertain a motion.
So move.
Motion to approve the request of the city traffic engineer, which is to deny item 9B3. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. 9B3 has been denied. Next item is multi-way stop at Madison Avenue, Macon Drive. Now, the recommendation was to deny this request, but the city traffic engineer had an alternate recommendation under 9.3, which we had already approved. So therefore, unless there's any other comment or questions, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the city traffic engineer. It's been moved by Commissioner Farrow. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Diaz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Okay, the last item is the installation of handicap parking sign at 190 Cottage Street. We've already tabled this on a couple of occasions, once anyway. It's been tabled twice. There is a driveway on the property. Ms. Heater is the only resident. It's a single-family house. She does share a driveway, which makes it difficult for her, according to her application. And there is street parking right in front of her door. I've looked this up, and her driveway is pretty, it's a pretty tight space. And if she's sharing it with her neighbor, and it appears when you map it, that's the case.
I don't see anything where they've measured the distance between the driveway that she claims is far from her door and the front entrance. If there was a handicap parking space in front of her, on her street, in front of her door, it would be a shorter distance to
No,
the entrance.
it appears that it'd likely be a much shorter distance. But the fact that I even, question the city traffic engineers, it's a very narrow driveway that the two houses share. Yeah.
Okay, what does that mean, narrow driveway, that she cannot park side by
Well,
side or behind it?
Yeah, she's saying that there's mobility issues. She's saying the driveway is too far away from her front door also, so
Yeah,
in the
that's
back,
the
I
key.
guess. I don't, so.
So we're agreeing to everything she's stating, and we're denying it, and we're approving it.
No, we haven't done either yet.
Well, we would be approving the traffic engineer's
If we, yeah, obviously.
recommendation not to approve.
Mhm. That's why we're here tonight, to make a decision either way.
Okay, I'm not making a motion to approve. I'm making a motion not to approve what the
Okay,
traffic
there's a
engineer is
motion
saying.
on the floor to deny the request of the city traffic engineer, which in turn grants the request of the applicant. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Commissioner Farrow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any
Aye.
opposed? Okay. The motion is denied, and the handicap parking sign at 190 Cottage Street is approved. Are there any other issues in front of the board this evening before we adjourn? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
your participation tonight. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you, folks. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Hi, everyone.
Night.
Bye now.
Good night.